Howdy folks, today I am going to put in those new Vanos solenoids and clean these screens for those. Whoa, almost lost you there. So I put about 12 to 1300 miles on this thing so far. It's actually been pretty problem free. It does slowly leak oil. Thankfully it's not from the rear main seal this time, and it is from the valve cover gaskets. So I'm going to be hopefully addressing those either in this video or the next one. So as you can see, I've been driving this thing for a while, and I've been averaging about 25.5 with a bunch of the lights on, and with the timing being slightly out of place. Still kind of excited to see what this will yield when those solenoids and those screens are fixed. So I will see you guys with the hood popped. Gonna let this thing cool down for a bit. It's still pretty red hot. See the heat coming off of it, but really got to get to that valve cover gas so you guys can just see the oil just leaking down the side because of that, and that gasket for the valve train position controller. Hope that won't be too terrible. But for the Vanos solenoid screens, they're down. The screens are down in the side next to the, pretty close to the exhaust manifold. And then the two solenoids themselves are right there. Those should be pretty easy to remove based on how they look. I believe those are the original ones. Hopefully that'll make a pretty big difference. And then I have a new crankcase breather system, so I got to take the whole intake off for that. Probably thinking I'm going to time that when I do the valve cover, because I have to remove that upper shielding as well. In the meantime, I'm going to do a frame swap on this mower. So the engine's good, but as you can see, the frame clapped out, so that's pretty easy. And I'm going to go help my parents out and just take care of that first. All right, there's one. It's definitely been in there a long while. I'm gonna keep these just in case if something happens. Put a little bit of oil on that seal and then throw this one right in there. In we go. Good click. Just get one of those bolts started. And I'll do the second one. All right, that one's good enough. So, a little pro tip. If you're doing this, the longer lead goes to your top solenoid and the shorter one goes to the bottom. So that's when you put them back in, you don't get them mixed up. All right, pull that second one out. I mean, I really don't know what I'm looking at, tell if they're beat or not. Apparently there's a way to clean these, but it's better just replace them. So I gotta grab that other O-ring. And just like that, we're out. So I'm gonna keep this one as well. And just like the other one, in we go. Oh, shoot. Well, that sucks, and that's really hot. Well, I guess I put just a little bit too much weight on a coolant hose, trying to move it out of the way, and Yeah, it just popped it right off. Wild. Just like that first one, we're just gonna give it a click. All right, with two hands. And we're in. So I'm just gonna bolt those down, plug them back in. Hopefully this will make a difference in the idle and the power. All right, so I was able to find that coolant flange inlet. So I'm gonna go pick up that. Apparently these are a known weak point and do break. So it just so happened I put a little bit too much weight on it and it died. You can tell by the plastic was definitely coming apart with all that heat. And I just ever so happened to put a little bit extra on it and let loose. So I will see you guys when I get back with that part and some coolant, and we'll fire this thing up and see if those Vanos solenoids did anything. But hopefully by that time the engine will be cool enough that I can clean those screens for that, as it would be nice to do that all in one big swing. So I figured I'd also go grab some coolant while I'm out and about, but thankfully, sure enough, they had the doodad. So this is the upgraded metal one, which is, I guess, what I would have wanted anyways. Kind of insane. Advanced is basically double the price of Amazon. Or no, sorry, quadruple the price of Amazon, double the price of Rock Auto. But unfortunately, with the situation I'm in, I can't wait till tomorrow to do a next day Amazon, which still would be significantly cheaper, or wait a week for the Rock Auto. So I had to grab it locally. Anyways, I'm gonna get that coolant and start throwing that in. So that piece was on. It was quite the pain to do. I figured while it doesn't have coolant, I might as well do the oil cooler gasket, because that is a known fail point on these things. And unfortunately, to do that, you got to pull the whole intake manifold and air box. So I'm halfway into that. Gonna get the remainder of the nuts holding that thing on. Figured I'd peep the air filter. Probably hit that with the vacuum and re-oil it. And then I'm probably gonna wait to do the valve cover gasket for another day. Reason being, that's a little more involved. So I'm gonna throw you guys in the tripod. Let's zip these things out, take this manifold off, redo the CCV system with all those new components, and then new intake manifold gaskets. Well, that's part of the issue. This hose actually wasn't fully connected. So it definitely had a pretty massive vacuum leak going. I mean, yeah, it's bad. Let's see if I can get that spudger in there to just release that tab. Got it, nice. Yeah, so that backside was completely freewheeling and it's filled with oil. Now, hopefully, I can just jiggle this manifold up and out. Get you guys chilling right there. Maybe something like that. Probably still have a few things connected that I am missing, but I'm just gonna try to push that all the way back and down. Same with this one. Okay, yeah, that's nice. Should be able to just lift that off, up and off. So how this is done. Well, would you look at that? That intake manifold's off. That was a pain to do that. So you have all these connectors on the backside, and it's really not easy to see if they're visible or not. Anyways, they're out. I gotta get that last PCV, CCV. I think this one's the oil drain hose right here. So that has to come out as well. And while I'm in here, you know, one was to get that crankcase breather thing, but the second one is you cannot change the oil cooler gasket unless you remove the manifold anyways, because there's this bolt on the back side you have to get to. And so I'm gonna do this, I think, first, and then I'm gonna fiddle with all that CCV stuff and bolt that new piece into the manifold. So this thing's actually quite complicated. I don't think it needed to be this complicated for any reason, but I didn't design this car. So you got all these hoses that connect to all these like hidden spots that it's really difficult to get a tool into. Anyways, put you guys down. Let's do that oil cooler gasket. Hopefully don't find any big surprises. And to my knowledge, this thing was also never replaced, and so this is one of the, I guess, big failure points that can actually kill these motors. Take your handy dandy, what is this, E10. I got 3 bolts on here. One of them is definitely gonna be a pain. That's unfortunate. Oh, I have to take off that part that I just put on yesterday. That sucks. Anyways, I'm gonna go zip these loose, get that last one, and then hopefully not spend too much time pulling that aluminum coupling off. Don't necessarily recommend doing this, but if you got a bolt that has a head that's a little messed up, this is definitely the move. Wow. I don't know if that's sludge, but that gasket is definitely cached. See, it's starting to eat itself apart. Or unless they just sprayed this whole thing down with RTV, which, I mean, at this rate, there's a very good chance of that. So that looks horrible. And that was definitely a place where it was leaking oil. So with that old gasket, just pry that thing right up and out. So it looks like someone did get in here previously, because there's no way BMW from the factory would do something that sloppy. This gasket is looking kind of sad. You can hear it's kind of crispy as you're pulling it out. Yeah, that is done. So let's get that new one, and I'll show you guys them side by side. Big difference, you can see that one's starting to get eaten away by some of the coolant. All right, that looks acceptable. Slap that new one on. While I'm in here, I'm also going to check the bolts on the top of the transmission bell housing, because that one I really didn't have that great of an access to when I was putting the clutch in. So I'll show you guys that one. So that one on the top of the transmission is right there. I think it's like an E40 or E50. So I'm gonna go check the tightness on both of those. One of them holds the top of the starter in. The other one just mounts the top of the bell housing to the engine. Transmission bell housing to the top of the engine, top back of the engine. So I'm gonna go snug those up really quick, see if they moved at all, and then I'm gonna get started on cleaning all that up. Probably grab the vacuum, lightly use the razor blade on the surfaces, and then install the new crankcase ventilation system. All right, here's our intake manifold. Just zip these bolts out real quick. Oops. Oh, good. Cool. See if I can find a date code anywhere on this thing. The other pieces were made in 2005, so it makes me think this is all original. It does smell pretty heavily like oil. And you can see that, yeah, there's definitely some good, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, caked up stuff in there. So that would definitely make me think this is contributing some issues. Oh yeah, it's some thick sludge. All right, well, maybe after I'll crack this thing open for you guys and take a peek what's really inside. So I am kind of curious. Oh, so it's, okay, so that's its little heating mechanism deal. Yep, and then, all right, so later I'll crack this open with a screwdriver, and then we'll take a look at it. Yeah, I think that's what's off, actually. Yep, this is what's off. Strange. All right, well, it seems straightforward. Expose that and that power. Look at that. All right, let's replace those gaskets. Time to throw in the rest of those components. Throw this back on. That one's in. I think it actually has to go on the other side of the starter wire. Yep, definitely does. Go like that. Not a fan of how rigid some of these hoses are. Ones are. Yeah, I mean, just slide in there, connect this on the way in. Probably put it in there whenever it's over. Alright, here goes nothing. Part of me wants to take the vacuum pump line off, but the other part of me does not want to deal with that. There's this one right here. There's all these pop-out housing. After a lot of jiggling, that thing's finally in. That was quite the adventure. Hoping never need to take that off on this car again. So we're gonna throw the intake manifold fully back in, so I'm going to start with tightening the bolts from cylinders 3 and 4 and work outward one by one. Also want to make sure this thing is lined up and centered. Quite surprised it's only these bolts that hold this entire assembly in. Ooh, that's going to be a tight one. So I'm going to first put all the nuts and bolts on it. That's about it. So I'm gonna pull this up a tad and start to tighten it. All right. Oh, looks like I missed one. Whoop. I guess I already got that one. Throw my fuel line back on. That thing attaches right back here. I think that's a T30. A T25. tool line. So now I got a few more brackets and things. And then all this electrical that has to be tightened down. I'm gonna do that off camera. I'll see you guys after I fill the coolant up and go for the first start. All right, it's all put together-ish. So we're gonna fire this up and hopefully it starts. Hopefully I connected everything correctly, and I guess we'll figure that out.
Enter to Bluetooth. Bluetooth connected.
Idle's still having some issues. All right, so I'm gonna put you guys down. I'm gonna keep adding coolant. Still a little smoke coming off of that valve cover gasket down in there. Wow, that idle definitely smoothed out. I don't see any crazy noticeable leaks. Oh my gosh, that idle feels so much better. Cool, I'm gonna keep adding coolant and I will join you guys when I do a lap around the block. So I don't see any visible leaks anywhere after letting it warm up for a little while. Coolant's topped off, take a bottle with me. We'll throw together that piece, loop those wires in. I also wanted to add some LED fog lights. That's gonna be for another day, because I would like to actually cut a little bit more out of the bumper and add 2 of them. I mean, this thing's kind of a pile anyways. You can see that beautiful orange peel from that $5 paint job. So I think that's gonna about wrap this up. It still does sound like there's something a little funky with the idle. I gotta do some more research as to where those Vanos screens are. And then I would like to see if I have any bad coils, because that would kind of make me think something coil could be wrong. Or maybe it's that last actuator on the top. So I will catch you guys in the next one when I throw the valve cover gasket in. So maybe that'll be in 500 miles, maybe that'll be in a few thousand. I will catch y'all later. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, you can find me anywhere where videos are hosted. See you guys. Everything seems to be doing just dandy. No other warning lights or anything crazy going on. I'm gonna check the coolant once I get back to my place. Other than that, the car seems to feel like it has a little more power and that the throttle response is a little bit snappier. Maybe that was from the MAF. Maybe it was from those Vanos solenoids. Maybe it was from the crankcase breather. The world may never know. So I will catch you guys on the next one when I do the valve cover gasket and possibly the junkyard when I do the 2 front fenders. So, all right, thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys later. Bye.